Hello and welcome back to another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I'm Eric. I did 11 years in prison and I talk about prison stuff. In today's episode, we're doing Prison Wine Part 3. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's get into the video. So this is the mead, some of it, that I made last year. I think I made this around May was the first video on this that I made. But I used some honey and apple juice to make some mead or prison wine. We called it Hooch in prison, but I call it prison wine. I know it's not a wine per se. It's, honey and apple juice that's fermented with bread yeast. I'm not going to call it Pruno because we don't call it that in Kansas. We call it Hooch. But if I call it Hooch, y'all won't really know what the hell I'm talking about, so I call it prison wine, in the hopes that you guys will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I made this last May. I'm shooting this in February. Some of you guys had asked, how long would it keep for and stuff like that. So that's what we're exploring here. What's this like after 9-ish months? Somewhere around there, I think. This has been in a refrigerator and, kept cold throughout all these months. I've got a fridge full of bottles like this. I just refill my old whiskey bottles with my prison hooch, so it works. That was a 5-gallon bucket, and it made quite a bit. If you can see, I don't know if you can see on this camera, it's a new camera. If the bottle looks cloudy, it's just because of condensation on the bottle. This stuff is actually crystal clear, almost like a distilled spirit. There's a little bit of sediment down here in the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but I can. So when I'm pouring this, I'm going to try to not get that in my cup. So I'm going to give it a pour, give it a taste, and tell you guys how it is after all this time. I think you guys can see how clear that is. It looks really nice. There's very little sediment or anything floating in there. Looks very, very drinkable. It tastes good. It's not super sour, but it has a little bit of tartness from the apple juice. And it does have kind of a heavy flavor, I guess you could say, from the honey. And the bread yeast, it does have a bready flavor, but it's not unpleasant. I like bread, so I'm not complaining. And it tastes somewhat strong. It tastes stronger than a beer. It's definitely not in the range of 20% or anything like that. But I would say it's more than, a beer, depending on what beer you get. I like Boulevard, and some of those can have a pretty high percentage of alcohol. But all in all, this is pretty decent. I'd sit around and drink this with a couple of friends any day of the week. Well, maybe not any day, because some days I have stuff going on, and that's just probably not a great recipe for being productive. But, Anyway, just a short video. I hope you guys like it. And let me know what you guys think of this camera quality. I got a new camera. My other one crapped out, and that was one of the reasons why I haven't put out a lot of videos lately. It is strong. I don't want to drink too much of that. Before I go, I want to let you guys know that I have some merch. There's a link to it in the description. There's also a link to my PayPal if you want to support the channel that way. There's a link to my Patreon page, which I don't think I have any Patreon patrons yet, so you could be one of my first if you join there. Right now, my patrons get early access to my videos. There's not too many perks yet because I don't really have any Patreon patrons, but, when I get a few, I will definitely add some more perks to my Patreon page. But with that, I'm going to go. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's just kind of a revisit, because that's some pretty good hooch. I'm Eric. This has been another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I will see you all later.